All right. Good morning, everybody. So
That's very
basically,
thoughtful.
since we have a number of people here, I would just want you to start with the introduction so that by the time you are done, you have about 3 minutes for that. By the time you are
Okay.
done, Christopher, who is our resource person from Sophos, will then take it from there. Since we have just about 30 minutes for this, we don't want to take time. I think we should just go straight into it since we have some of our guests already joining this webinar. So Luis, over to you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Olumide. Thank you for this opportunity you afforded us and our numerous customers alike. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to have you around. And I know it's not been easy for a lot of people because we are beginning to live a different life that we are used to. But it's something that caught everybody unaware, like we see most especially in Africa. And the world remote work to work remotely has been on for a long time now and everything, but in Africa, the way we do business, we've never really taken the time to embrace this concept. But fortunately, I won't say it's unfortunate, fortunately for us now, it's here in our face and everybody has no choice than to work remotely. But the deep question now that's been on everybody's mind is almost organization's mind, employees, most of our data and information are online that we get from the internet. And either before now, we know we used to hide behind the walls of our office where we have our firewall that protect us from vulnerabilities out there. But now everybody is indoor. They are all in their respective houses, as it were. And we still have to continue with our jobs, you know. So this poses a very big security risk. It makes us more vulnerable to attackers and hackers out there. So that's why, as an organization, Sidmach Technologies, we took it upon ourselves to enlighten our entrepreneurs, business owners, policymakers on the need to effectively put some measures in place to work in order for us to have effective results as we work remotely. So in this light, we called in a security expert, a seasoned network security expert from Sophos, to come and share with us and give us more insight on how organizations and employees and even individuals can work remotely and effectively without being compromised, without compromising their organization's data, even their private data as well. So in with us today, we have Chris Odutola. I don't know if he's around now. Chris?
Hi, Luis. Good morning, everyone.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning, Chris.
Yeah, I'm around and I'm happy to join you on this session.
Okay, you're welcome. So, Chris, we want you to roll out what you have for us today. We want to enlighten our clients and prospective clients as well as individuals and business owners on how they can imbibe mobile security best practices as they work remotely, so that at the end of the whole thing, we won't have information breach within organizations and as well loss of data, as it were. So Chris, the ball is on you right now. Can you just continue?
All right. Thank you so much, Luis, for the introduction. I think Luis summarized it very, very well. We are in uncharted waters right now. We have a situation at hand that we have never seen in our lifetime. And we still don't know, for how long we'll have to continue like this. So it's a very, very dicey situation we find ourselves in. Like he said, working remotely has never been our forte. A few of us have been working remotely. We have the tools, we know about VPNs and the rest of that, but a whole lot of us were unprepared at all. And the lockdown message from the government, especially from Lagos State government, came as a shock to many of the customers. And now we have to revisit our strategy, digital transformation, work from home, storage, and everything. So that brings us to what we're going to talk about today, how to make sure that you can work from home securely. I would suggest that we all mute our microphones, unless you want to ask questions. And I hope that the host is also recording the session so that we can share with those who are coming late or those who have unstable internet connectivity, because that's been the issue since this lockdown began. All right, without wasting too much time, let's go straight into the topic. So number one question the IT administrators and managers get asked by management is it secure to work from home? Because they are very, very well aware of the securities and dangers of working in general in IT, let alone work from home. So back in the office, you will have firewall, you have network security, SIEM solution, monitoring, SOC, everything. So the office is like a fortress, but now users have to go home and work from there, and that introduces a challenge in terms of security. So is it safe to work from home? It depends. There's no way working from home can be as secure, 100% as working from the office. Even the office working is not 100%, but depending on the security measures you put in place, it could be very safe working from home or from anywhere at all if you have the right tools to work with it. But one thing is very clear, whether you work from home or you work from the office, the hackers have been doing this for a very long time. So for most of our employees, our workers, this is a very strange time for them. But for the hackers, it's like just like a normal day for them. We're going to see how we can better equip our users so that they can work safely from home. But by doing that, we're going to look at the various best practices that Sophos recommends for users who are working from home or from out of the office. Number one is to ensure that you secure all of your devices. That's regardless of which device users are using, be it smartphones, tablets, laptops, desktops, regardless of the operating system, Android, iOS, Java, Linux, Windows. Every operating system that users use should be properly protected and secure. You may ask me, okay, what about if my user has an official laptop and also has an unofficial laptop, maybe a personal laptop won't use it for business. That one also needs to be secure before users can access the internet. And we're going to show you how Sidmach can help you to stay secure. Can the host help us to mute everyone else? Thank you.
I'll do that.
All right. So there are various solutions that Sophos has put in place to help us to secure both personal devices and also official devices. For official laptops, for official devices, recommend you use Intercept X Advanced with EDR, which is available for all users. Sidmach can also help you to set this up. I would suggest that Olumide makes me a co-host so that I can also help with the controls. Okay, so we also have Sophos Home for personal computers. So if your users at home need protection on their own personal devices, like their own personal laptops, personal desktops, or those of their children even, Sidmach can help you to get these licenses for free. This is full protection that you get from Intercept X Advanced, but it doesn't come with the control features. So this is not a feature that you can manage from central. It's a standalone antivirus just for their personal devices, just to ensure that they are safe regardless of which device they're using to access corporate data. So with this tool, we're ensuring that your users are covered from the endpoint protection side, either from to give you anti-ransomware protection, zero-day threat protection, and antivirus. And in the case whereby the lockdown came too sudden, you were unprepared, and now your users are at home, and you still need to protect their devices. All hope is not lost. There are ways we can do that. Sidmach can help you set up a central account, and we can show you a step-by-step guide that you can use to send the installation to all of your users. So users who are already at home, maybe they bought the laptop on Jumia, or they were using a desktop at home, but now they're in the office, but now they're at home, they can use their own personal computers. we can still protect those systems as well. Sidmach can show you how best to ensure that you push protection to them and you can control them as well. All right. So number two best practice we recommend is to ensure that all devices are encrypted. We can't stress this enough because device encryption, for example, helps to secure data at rest. So if you have data, on a particular device, be it smartphone or a mobile phone or even a smartwatch or your laptop, we recommend strongly that you encrypt the hard drive of that device or the memory card of that device, as the case may be, so that because mobile devices have a tendency to be easily stolen or lost. If a user loses their device with corporate data on it, there's a high risk that someone could access the storage and will be able to exfiltrate data or be able to access their browsers, for example, which will make it easier for them to access all their login authentication and the rest of that. So when it comes to device encryption, it's very, very critical, even more important than file encryption, as it were, because device encryption encrypts the entire data, which contains so much more than just files. Like I mentioned, the likes of two-factor authentication, stored credentials, everything is already on the browser of that device. So by being able to encrypt the entire device itself, you can prevent data leakage in the case whereby the device is stolen. So for example, someone steals a laptop, they remove the hard drive, they try to slave it so that they can extract the content. If there's device encryption in place, they will never be able to access a single resource on that hard drive because it's going to be useless to them as well. So that's one of the benefits of device encryption. So we have device encryption already by default on iOS and some Android versions, but if you're using an Android, we can use Sophos Intercept X Advanced or Sophos Mobile Control to ensure that your Android is also encrypted, and that includes the external storage drive, the SD card that's also attached to it can also be encrypted to ensure that someone cannot just remove it and have access to corporate information on it. Number three recommendation is to ensure that you have VPN in place. So you make sure that the communication between your users and corporate data that resides in the physical office or in the cloud provider's network is going to be secure. So when you have a VPN in place, that means regardless of which link users are connecting to, whether they're connecting through public Wi-Fi, like the likes of TZT that have public Wi-Fi, where multiple users can connect to the same access point to access resources. If it's possible that someone could sniff such kind of traffic. It's also possible that a lot of users would use MiFi at home, or they could share data using their mobile routers, and someone could hack into those as well and be sniffing those packets. So it's very, very secure. But it's very advisable to use a secure link like a VPN connection, for your users. And it's very good that we already have that on Sophos XG Firewall. Sophos XG Firewall gives you the options of SSL VPN, IPsec VPN or remote access, and also Sophos Connect. So Sophos Connect is IPsec based as well, and it's free. The licenses are free for all users. You just need to download the software and push to the users, and they can run it. Also, for other VPN connectivity types, you have them on the user portal, where users can log into the user portal of Sophos and download the client themselves. So if your users are already at home, well, all hope is not lost. Just give them the link. They can, log on to the user portal with their credentials, and they can download the configuration file for the VPN and run it and install it. One additional thing we've added there is also two-factor authentication. Because during this lockdown period, we strongly advise that any resource, any remote resource, users will be accessing, and I'll talk more on that as well. Be it cloud-based resource, cloud storage, Office 365, remote access VPN, even Sophos Central Management, they should always use two-factor authentication. Very, very important, because that's the loophole that hackers are now trying to exploit. And users who were not really used to 2FA while they were in the office, they are trying all kinds of means to frustrate the implementation of two-factor authentication at home. But we must not give in. We have to find a way to enforce it and to ensure that everybody is on board on why we're using two-factor authentication at this point in time. So for those who don't have Sophos XT Firewall, well, all hope is not lost as well. Sidmach can help you to set up a virtual XT Firewall if you have the resources for that. Either you set it up locally in your office, or you have a cloud provider that you can use their space to set up a virtual XT Firewall. From there, you can create remote access VPNs to such an XT Firewall. And like I said, we can give you a 3 months free license, fully featured with Full Guard Plus. That includes email protection, web protection, network protection, the full works. Number 4 recommendation is to ensure that you scan and secure email, and also maintain best practices. Email is still very, very key, because that is the fastest way for hackers to reach the users right now. So currently, the fastest way for them was to reach just one user, and from that one user, they can begin to move laterally. We call it lateral movement, to other users and infect their system. But right now, users are not in the same place. Everybody's in different places. So the fastest way for them to reach those users is to go via email. So email security is still very, very key. So it's important to secure email using anti-spam, anti-malware, anti-ransomware, anti-phishing, and the rest of that. But that's not enough. We also need to make sure that we secure all devices that will access email. So email protection goes beyond just anti-spam, anti-malware. I'll give you an example. So if someone is trying to access email with their own personal system, personal device, and that device is already infected with some kind of malware or worm that harvests address books, for example, from Outlook, and then broadcasts spam emails through that address book. What will happen is, if that device is not protected and you allow that device to access the email, the user will then be able to access the address book of the victim. That's the hacker will be able to access the address book of the victim, and then send spam or malware to the entire contacts in that list. And because it's sending from a legitimate source, those emails are likely to get delivered and to bypass all kinds of checks. So that's the risk attached to ignoring email protection. So email protection is not just protecting the email itself, but also protecting the device that sends and receives emails. And we can do that with a combination of tools that Sophos provides. Another tool in our arsenal is what we call fish threats. Fish threats helps to sensitize the entire workforce, because hackers will now see the weakest links as the human beings. Because back in the office, you had so much that could protect you. In case of a breach, the firewall was always there as backup, sandboxing and everything. But now that users are at home, they are all on their own, especially if you allow them to use unprotected system to access resources. So there could be a threat to the entire network, especially if users are also using VPN to tunnel back to the head office, where they can have access to file servers and the rest. So you open the corporate network to more attacks if users are accessing more protected systems. So fish threat will help to sensitize the entire workforce, to simulate attacks, to see which users fall for those tricks, and then to make them take some kind of training. For example, basic phishing tips, two-factor authentication, credential harvesting, social engineering attacks. So it makes users understand more about IT policies, IT security policies, and how not to fall victim to such attacks. So these are the 3 tools we have for our messaging security solution. One of them is Sophos Central, which is email gateway in the cloud. This is particularly useful for Office 365, Google G Suite, or third-party cloud service providers like GoDaddy that host your email. So for such providers, we can act like the man in the middle cleaning those kind of emails before they are delivered to your user's inbox. So that's Sophos Central Email Gateway in the cloud, which you can also try for a month for free. The second one is Sophos XT Firewall. If you currently have an XT Firewall, it has the email protection module that you can use to protect yourself. If you have on-premise email or even cloud email, there are ways you can do the configuration that can also protect you. But if you have on-premise email and you don't have email protection right now, or you have a Sophos XT Firewall, you can start free trial for a month, or you can deploy the virtual XT Firewall and get a license from Sidmach for 90 days to secure you for the time of this lockdown. And also we have Sophos Fish Threats, which I already talked about, to help you to identify the weakest links in the organization so that you can train them on IT security practices. You can simulate attacks and broadcast this across board to see which of your users will fall for those tricks. Fish threats has a very good place with HR departments, especially in companies who strictly enforce HSE policies. So HSE is more of health and safety. And they usually carry out what we call fire drills from time to time, where the alarm sounds, everyone goes to a master point and all that. So we can use fish threat also to create security drills. And in some organizations, I'll give an example like Mobile Nigeria. If you fail this kind of security assessment drill, I think if you fail it twice, you will lose internet connectivity for 6 months in the organization. You can ask anyone who works with Mobile, they will confirm what I just said to you. So that has a very good place with HR. And this is the time we need to actually intensify fish threat campaigns. This is the time we need to continually test users at home, because they're working from home. They are very likely to let down their guard. They're very likely to overlook a lot of things. They're very likely to click on all kinds of news. And right now there's so much information overload on coronavirus. Everyone is clicking on every link they see, trying to find out the count. Is there a cure for it? Is there a vaccine for it? So the hackers are also jumping on that bandwagon to use that means to lure users to click on phishing links. So fish threat will help users to be much more careful, to be much more alert to this kind of threats that hackers pose. So still on the Sophos email gateway on the cloud, in the cloud, we have what we call the concept of smart banners that helps you to identify whether some kind of emails are actually from a trusted sender or not. In some cases, you will see emails that look like they're coming from your domain, but they're actually spoofed. So Sophos Central Email Gateway, as a last resort, so let's say the email probably breached all the protection layers. As a last resort, it will check, if that sender is reliable or not, and will change the color code, as you can see here. So if you see the color code being green, it means the user is trusted. If it's orange, it shows you that the message was most likely sent from someone outside of the organization, and we could not verify that sender. So it gives you those color codes regardless of which device you're reading your email on. So if you're reading an email from webmail, or from Outlook, or from iOS, or from Android, or from any application at all, this color code will be at the top of that email, and that would immediately alert you to the risk at hand. If there's enough time, we will show you a very short demo of fish threat at the end of this presentation. So number 5 is to enable web filtering. So currently we do this web filtering with the firewall in the office, and that is very good, assuming all users are in the office. But right now we can see that there's hardly any user left in the office. So the web filtering policies on the firewall are not exactly useful if you cannot replicate them at the endpoint level, because a lot of users will still be using the official laptops, and that belongs to the office. So the office needs to be able to ensure that users actually are working from home, even though they are sitting at home. And we know when you're working from home is not the same as when you're working from the office. So when you're working from the office, you most likely don't want to be browsing YouTube when you should be working, or playing around Facebook when you should be working, because anyone could just walk by and see you. But when you're working from home, there's no physical monitoring, as it were. So you're almost free to do whatever you want to do. That's why IT administrators need to take it to another level. With the Sophos Central Interceptex endpoint agent, you can also enforce firewall policies at the endpoint level. So you can duplicate those policies on the firewall and replicate them at the endpoint level. So if you're blocking, let's say YouTube or Facebook from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. At the firewall level, you can also do that at the endpoint. The endpoint will override what's on the firewall. So users don't have to connect to VPN for them to be bound by those policies anymore. So if your users are using Office 365, for example, or they're using cloud storage, they don't need your VPN. They can access these resources, directly from the internet. So if you have those policies on the firewall and you're expecting them to connect via VPN for them to be restricted, then they will not connect. So you need to enforce this kind of policies at the endpoint level as well. So you can block certain websites, you can allow certain web categories from a particular time of the day to another particular time of the day. And also you can be granular and ensure that those rules only apply to certain groups of users or computers, as the case may be. So number 6 recommendation is to enable the use of cloud storage for users. This is very important because especially in Nigeria, we have a serious issue with electricity. So most users tend to work more on their mobile phones. So imagine someone was working on something and he saves it on the system and the light goes off, so he can't access that right now. And there's a meeting that's coming up on Zoom or Microsoft Teams, that file needs to be shared. Nobody will have access to that file because it's on someone's laptop and it's shut down. There's nothing you can do at that time. So it's not a smart way to work and ensure business continuity in a time like this. So we strongly recommend that you allow your users to use cloud storage responsibly. Responsibly, when I say responsibly, I mean two things. Number one, ensure that users use two-factor authentication to access the cloud service. And number two, make sure it's permission-based. So nobody can just access those files in the cloud. So it's not just a link that anyone can access. Only people who have authority, who need the file should be able to access it. So there should be permission-based access to such files. And that also extends to passwording files. So you can password files that will be stored, in the cloud at this point in time and will be shared with certain teams. So for example, if there's a file, maybe from HR for the entire organization, you can share the file with the entire organization and also password that file and share the password with them. So no one else can access such file at this time, because at this time, people are likely to easily send files around. And of course, we know what's coming, because if this lockdown period keeps extending, we're going to see a lot of organizations, telling workers that they need to go. And what that means is a lot of workers will now be open to the option of what we call corporate espionage, meaning some of them will be likely to steal corporate data as they leave the company, and that could put the company in serious trouble. So you might want to ensure that such files are passworded and users accessing them use two-factor authentication to access them. So cloud storage is a must right now. You shouldn't encourage users to be saving official files on their laptops at this point in time, especially when they're working from home with their own personal devices. That should be a no-no. So number 7 is to manage the use of USB flash drives, especially removable storage that includes external hard drives as well, and also storage on mobile phones that you can plug a cable to your computer and access. That you can plug to your computer and access. So we need to be able to manage the use of USB flash drive, especially at this time when users are locked down. There's likely to be a spike in the usage of USB flash drives because think about it, you're at home now more often than you used to be, and you're probably locked down with your family or with friends or with relatives who may want to use your computer. Let's say your computer is very fast, or they want to play games on your computer, or they want to watch movies on your computer, or they want to do some work on your computer. More people will bring flash drives to you, or they'll bring their phones to charge on your computer. As the case may be, you will encounter more USB usage at this point in time, and that's why IT managers need to decide if they want to allow USB flash drives at all. So there are several ways we can do this. Number 1 is to allow read or write, which is the default. So when you have a laptop, you can read or write through flash drive. Of course, that creates the risk that someone could steal information, from this computer onto their flash drive, or they could also get attacked from an infected flash drive. So both ways, it's critical that you decide who can have read-write permission to flash drives in the organization. Shouldn't be everyone. The second way is for us to do read-only. So when you do read-only, that means users cannot write to flash drive, meaning they cannot steal information from the flash drive. But if that flash drive is infected, then they can also infect the computer that they're trying to plug it into. So that could be tricky, because even if the computer, has the capacity to clean the flash drive, if it's set to read only, then it will not be able to do that, because nobody can write to the file, and as such, you can't remove what's currently on that flash drive. So that could be a risk. The third way is to outrightly block flash drives for certain groups of users. When you block flash drives, when they plug those cables in, it will not be able to read the memory. If they want to charge the phones, it will charge the phones, but they will never be able to read the content of that mobile phone or flash drive or external hard drive. So it's up to us to decide which one we want to roll out for the organization. So number 8 recommendation from Sophos is to ensure that you control access to the resources by mobile phones. That's very critical because a lot of us use mobile phones, and like I said, in this period, because of electricity situation in the country, a lot more people are likely going to be accessing their emails and be doing their office work from their mobile devices, and that introduces a very, very serious and obvious risk. The problem is that a lot of us don't bother to secure mobile phones. We don't prioritize mobile security. We only prioritize endpoint and firewall security. And if about 70 or 80% of our users are going to be using mobile phones to access those resources, then we also need to think about how we'll secure those mobile phones. So there are 2 ways. One, we have Intercept X Advanced for mobile phones, which is free. So if you have Google Play Store right now, you can go to Google Play Store, search for Sophos Intercept X, you can download it and install it on your personal devices as well. To secure your phones, it will help you to block malware and also to block out fraudulent, malicious websites, which you can also install for the entire organization. The second one is Sophos Mobile Control, which is managed by Sophos Central. For that one, you need a license, which Sidmach can get for you for a month at least. Hopefully during this lockdown, you'll be able to control your users. So with mobile control, you can do 2 modes. Either you do MDM, that's mobile device management, or BYOD, which is most likely going to be the case. If you're the one giving the phones to the users, you can use MDM to protect all the users. But if users are coming with their own devices, you can use BYOD. So with BYOD, what we do is we create a container on those mobile phones where they can do office work, they can receive emails, work on files and all that. And it's passworded, such that while they're in that container, they cannot take screenshots. They cannot copy files outside of that container, even though the phone belongs to them. That whole place is encrypted. Once they exit the application, they have no access to whatever was in that phone. That whole partition is already passworded and secure. And if the user is no longer working for the organization, or they lose that phone, you can easily remotely wipe all the contents of that container at once. So that's one of the ways mobile control can secure users. Also with mobile control, you can locate devices. If a device is missing, for example, to show you the GPS coordinates of that device. There's so much more you can do for mobile control that Sidmach will be able to help you with. The last 2 points are very critical and they link to each other, so I take them one by one. Number 9, a recommendation is to ensure that users have a way to report security issues. Currently, you probably have an email, maybe itsupport@company.com. Make sure that someone is constantly checking that email and responding to users' requests. Because back in the days before coronavirus, users could just walk into IT office and complain they have issues, or pick up the intercom and call IT, and IT will be able to send someone over to them. But right now, things are different. So we need to find all kinds of ways that we can use for users to reach out to IT. In some cases, you might want to create a Microsoft Teams page or Slack or WhatsApp group, but just ensure that people have a way to reach IT as soon as they need help for them, which leads us to the final recommendation for the corporate organization, is to ensure that you know about shadow IT solutions. You may be wondering, what exactly is shadow IT? Shadow IT is not as bad as it seems, because the problem is that a lot of times users will try to find ways to make work easier for them, even if it means that they'll go against the IT policies that have been set up. So I'll give you a typical example now. If you use Office 365 and you've designated OneDrive as your storage of choice, that's a good thing. Now we're talking about enabling two-factor authentication for everyone for additional security, which is fine. This would not go down well with some users. So for some users, if for whatever reason they're unable to get a hang of the two-factor authentication and they need to share files, they will share files via email, via Gmail, or even via Dropbox, which is effectively what we call shadow IT. With shadow IT, users get the job done, which is what the business wants, but they get it done by bypassing IT. So they completely blindside IT department when they do that. So IT has no way of tracking what they have done, and it could only mean 2 different things. One, it could mean that there could be data loss. Maybe someone inadvertently leaves files where they shouldn't be, and someone who shouldn't have access to them, actually gets hold of them. or it could mean that people could use that to actually steal confidential information intentionally from the organization. So we need to know this shadow IT solutions, shadow IT applications and websites, and proactively block them using the endpoint protection software. You can also use the fish threats, end user security awareness and training to educate users on, why they should not use this kind of applications and websites for shadow IT, and instead for them to reach out to IT directly. So if someone is trying to do something quickly and they're trying to reach out to IT and IT is not responding, they will go the way of shadow IT. We've seen that a couple of times where people have had to, innovate on the fly. They've had to create public channels where they could collaborate, have meetings, share files, discuss confidential stuff. And when they exited that application and closed that session, all those things they shared were still available, online, and hackers were able to take advantage of that. And that's effectively what we call shadow IT. So make sure that users have a way to reach you and you're able to enlighten them on how to use new security application as you roll out. So having said that, for corporate users, we're also going to talk about how we can help users at home to secure themselves. Number one is to ensure that they change the password on their MiFi or home routers, as it were. So a lot of us to use admin or admin user or admin password. This is not safe, and right now hackers are working overtime to hack into Wi-Fi networks. Of late, someone hacked into my own home Wi-Fi. They reset my password, they reset the SSID to the default, So I've had to shut down that mobile router right now. So make sure that you are able to change the default password on all of your home Wi-Fi routers and MiFi routers, as it were. Number two is to ensure that you have different passwords on every account. It's very, very difficult to keep track of. Anyways, we almost always use Remember Me when we try to log into the website, such that we don't have to enter the password again. This is not a bad practice, but we need to ensure that we use a different password for every account, because if the hacker is able to get hold of one password, they could use that password to log into all the other accounts, especially your Active Directory password or the password that you use to log into Outlook Online or Office 365 or your cloud platforms. This password should be different so that nobody can truncate that into other things. Number three is to ensure that you update all your devices. Whenever there's a patch, whenever there's an update, make sure you set those devices to auto-update anyways. We're seeing a lot of vulnerabilities being detected now that we're at home. People are working overtime, like I said. A lot of bugs are being detected in even common applications that we used or that we used to use. And now they're being patched on the fly. So please ensure that users are patching up the applications and operating systems as soon as those updates come out. Also, there's what we call Wi-Fi protected setup, which helps to speed up connection of certain devices to the home router or the Wi-Fi router. So we strongly advise right now to disable WPS because it's very easy for people to brute force and to hack into. Also, when you're entering your password at home, make sure that nobody is watching you. It's very easy for you to let down your guard when you're working from home. Maybe you trust your friends or you trust your family or relatives, but you can't be too sure. Just like when you go to the ATM, you make sure that nobody's watching you enter your PIN. So please protect your official credentials as much as possible. And finally, make sure that when you're not using your system, make sure no one has access to it. So when you're in the office, you always lock your screen. But now that you're at home, you tend to let down your guard a little bit, like, well, who's going to come hack into my system? But right now, people are working from home. We are still supposed to be professional. So don't leave your screen open and then your child goes to your system and start typing an email to your boss. So please ensure that when you're not accessing your computer, you lock the screen or you simply shut it down. If you want to take a picture, this might be a good time to take a snapshot and share with the rest of the team. This is a summary of all the tips that we've discussed today to secure remote working, and every single solution we talked about, Sidmach can help you set it up for at least free for 1 month. In some cases, for the XG firewall, the virtual XG firewall, you can have it free for 3 months. And for the home protection, you can have it free for 1 year. If you have any Sophos product, be it XG firewall or the endpoint, Sidmach can help you get a free license to secure your personal devices at home so that you can become secure. There's a summary of some of the free resources that we have. The Sophos Home, like I mentioned, is free for if you have a Sophos product already. And Intercept for mobile is also free for all mobile phones. You can download that free for all mobile phones. And also we have the anti-phishing toolkit that can help to educate you on how to spot phishing attacks. Also, the fish threat is available online. Sidmach can help you set up fish threats that can protect your users, that can help you to train your users. There are live video trainings there that can help users, and you can track which of your users are taking those training. After the training, there's an exam also that needs to be written. There's an assessment. You can track who has passed the exam. Right now, the users are at home. This is the right time to actually take advantage of fish threat to be able to help the users to learn about IT security policy, so that when they resume the office, everybody will be much more security conscious during this period. This is a summary of all of these products that tie into all of the recommendations that we've given, and every single product can be trialed for free, like I said, for at least 30, 90, or 365 days, thanks to Sidmach. So Sidmach, our top partners, they have a track record with Sophos. They have done this for a couple of customers as well, not just now, but they've been doing this for a very long time. They have Sophos Certified Architects, which is the highest level of certification from Sophos, and they will be able to help you to ensure that your users can work at home securely. Even though users are already at home, they can help you to ensure that you can push protection agents to them, to their mobile devices, to their personal devices, and also ensure that your policies on the firewall can be replicated at home to ensure that you have a fully secure environment, even though you are not currently in the office. So at this point, I think we've said so much. We would like to take your questions. And if you don't have questions right now, you can always reach out to Sidmach. I believe we'll be very happy to support you and work with you to ensure that we keep your users safe.
All right, thank you, Christopher. Please, guys, do you have any questions? Let's quickly take a few minutes to answer one or two questions, and then we will have a feedback form at the end of this webinar where if you do not immediately have a question now, we can always take your questions later and provide answers to them quickly. So, but for now, we can take just one or two questions. So if you have a question, please, this is the time to quickly put them out. Thanks. Anybody with a question? Okay.
Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Concerning Sophos Central Email, concerning Sophos Central Email Protection, is it enabled on Sophos Central for you to be able to see emails that are not genuine?
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. Like I said, what we have there also shows you what we call a smart banner that helps to identify that even though this email has passed all the checks, SPF, DKI, and whatever it is still, suspicious, and that you should tread carefully. So it changes the color code of that email to notify you that. So if an email is not genuine, the Sophos email gateway will still highlight that a possibility to you using artificial intelligence.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, do we have another question? Someone is asking, what is BYD acronym? That's in the chat space. Okay, bring your own device, yes.
BYD is bring your own device. That's users' personal devices being used for official purposes.
All right. All right, so that will be all for now. Please check your emails later today. We're going to be sending you.
Can I quickly add to the question?
All right, please do.
Yeah, can I quickly add to the question from the lady as well? Back to, if you look at this screen, under scan and secure email, you see fish threats. One of the things with fish threats is there's a button that we can add to Microsoft Outlook. There's an add-in where when you detect that a particular email is not genuine, you can click on that button to report that email to IT. So IT will take a look at that email, and then IT will take some decisions, like they could decide to block the sender or to block the domain, or even to block the IP address that the domain resolves to. So that could also help to save the rest of the organization. If one person has detected something suspicious, IT can take a second look at it and decide if it's safe or not. Sometimes before you respond to some kind of emails, you feel that you don't trust them, you can also use that button to share with IT. The good thing with sharing with IT is IT will be able to see the message header, but if you just forward to IT, they will not be able to see the header, and they won't be able to really help much in that case. So that's also an added advantage of phish threat.
Thank you very much. Yes, I have another question. I have Sophos what's called device manager on my phone, but most times I have to prompt it automatically. As in, it doesn't just scan automatically. I have to just prompt it to say, oh, okay, scan my phone. Is it not supposed to be auto, at least like despite the fact that I put the settings to be once in a week, until I open it, then that's when it is enabled.
Okay, that's a good one. I think what most providers currently do is they scan the first time, and then every time there's a new application, there's a new interaction, they scan, so that they don't have to be repeatedly scanning the devices all the time. Because when you scan, at the time you're scanning, it takes a whole lot of resources. In general, it takes a whole lot of resources. So we don't see repeated scanning as a good thing, as it were. We ensure that we scan fully the first time, and then subsequent interactions from external resources, we constantly scan those interactions as well. So if you open a file, that file is scanned. If you run an application, that application is scanned, instead of scanning the entire system all the time. That could be the reason why you don't see the scan happening frequently.
Thank you very much.
All right. Okay, there are also questions in the chat space here. Someone said, for the Sophos mobile control BYOD, can the data be copied to avoid data loss, assuming the person exits the organization?
Yeah, that's a good question. If you recall during the presentation, I strongly suggested that storage should always be done centrally and not on the device. So even for mobile devices, whatever they're going to be accessing will be stored on OneDrive. For example, not only on OneDrive, I'm just giving an example right now for OneDrive. And like I said, access should be based on permissions. So if someone is leaving the organization, all you just need to do is to disable their access to that particular resource, and they will never be able to access that resource on the cloud. So we don't recommend storage to be on mobile devices. If someone is leaving the organization, we can remotely wipe the content off that mobile phone or the container on the mobile. So if it's BYOD right now, they have an application. So for mobile control, within that mobile control, we have a workspace application that they can view office documents. If they're leaving the organization, the admin does not need to collect their phone. It just needs to press a button on the Sophos Central in the cloud and to wipe all the content in that container only, where you have official files and applications, and users will lose all that content automatically.
All right, thank you, Christopher. Now, the last question for now. So this person joined late, and he's asking, or she is asking, please, is there any product that does enterprise detection and response on immediate basis?
Yeah, correct. That's InterceptX Advanced with EDR. That was the first thing we talked about to protect all devices. And like we said, even in some cases, I'll give an example. Someone wants to use their personal device, or for whatever reason, their official laptop crashed or had a ransomware attack, and IT cannot help right now, and they have another device they want to use. What we strongly suggest is to start an InterceptX Advanced trial. Sidmach can help you with that. They will show you how you can install to a computer of someone that's not in the office, and you can set up the full InterceptX Advanced suite on that particular system. Now, that comes with EDR, that's endpoint detection and response, where you can see suspicious events, you can do root cause analysis, you can see on certain applications, you can do forensic investigation, so to speak, with Sophos EDR. We can show you a demo of that if you don't mind. Maybe after this, you can talk with Sidmach, I can show you a demonstration of that. but that will be able to work whether users are in the office or out of the office.
All right, Chris. So thank you very much, Chris, for taking our time to take us through this very important topic at this point in our lives. And we hope that everyone who has joined has learned a thing or two and will be ready to take immediate action to protect your important data and your organization information as much as you can. As we promised earlier, we're going to be sharing this recording with you. And we hope that you'll be able to digest it again when you watch it, maybe the second time or the third time, and then you can make your decisions from now. There will also be a feedback form where would please encourage you to fill so that we can get some feedback to be able to make this kind of webinars better for you in future events. Thank you very much for coming, and we hope that when next we call, you would be willing to join the webinar again. So we want to encourage you to keep staying safe out there, practice good hygiene, talk to your friends, to your families to do same, stay at home, maintain social distancing. We are not all safe until we are all safe. So please, let's do our best to follow all the rules and regulations of the period. We hope that within the next 1 month or within the next few weeks, all of this can go away and we can all return back to our normal lives. Thank you once again, and we want to wish you the best of the season. Take care.